True Romance is today's rambling review. This is a great movie. It's written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by Tony Scott. So, kind of a rare thing. Like, you don't see too often another director doing Quentin Tarantino screenplay, like outside of Robert Rodriguez, I guess. But this is kind of early on where, he sold the screenplay. They made it, pretty close to what he was written, but then it's kind of connected to Natural Born Killers, and it's a whole story there. But not to get into that. This is the story of Clarence and Alabama. It's their romance, their story, and definitely you can kind of see the early Tarantino already working with it's flair for dialogue and kind of pop culture references and just I don't know, it's hyper realistic feel of some kind of like awareness that these characters know they're in a genre movie, something like that. So we have the main character Clarence, who kind of feels. I think it might be fair to say that he kind of feels like the surrogate for Tarantino, at least at the time. You know what I mean? Like he's the nerdy pop culture junkie at the time. Tarantino, he was working in a video store. This character works in a comic book store, and he's kind of naive in a way, but has has some big balls, I guess you could say, because he gets into some shit and like leaves the normal world and then journeys into the genre world and all the characters we meet along the way. Lots of actors in this movie, kind of a star-studded cast actually. Um, he's joined by Alabama, played by Patricia Arquette, the wonderful Patricia Arquette. Basically, she's a call girl. Clarence's boss had, hired her to find Clarence at the movies, doing a Sonny Chiba marathon. Of course, obsession with the martial arts movies, very Tarantino, um, making it seem like she just kind of happened upon him and they hit it off. But in reality, she's a hooker, but in this movie, she's a hooker with a heart of gold. She says she only had a few other jobs before him, and I guess he's just so irresistible that he's such a great guy that she wants to leave the call girl life behind, and that's what they do. But not before killing the pimp, played by Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman, who's amazing, killing him off and finding some drugs, and then moving to Hollywood to sell these drugs. So, very, it does feel almost autobiographical in a very weird kind of way. Like it's Quentin Tarantino leaving his normal life and entering the world of Hollywood and all that crazy kind of stuff. Apparently, from what I understand, Brad Pitt was offered the Clarence role. His career was just kind of starting. He had already done Ridley Scott's film Thelma and Louise, which kind of put him on the map quite a bit. But there's actually a commentary on the DVD where they have interviews with a lot of the cast. Actually, they bring a lot of people together with like interviews and kind of chop it up into a commentary track. He said at the time he thought it was too much like the wet dream, kind of like uh, self-aggrandizing kind of loser underdog gets the girl, gets away with everything, that kind of stuff. And he said he misinterpreted it and he regretted it at that point. So Brad Pitt instead, he is in the movie, but he's just in a very tiny role, playing the stoner roommate, who's a very funny, very funny role. Don't you fucking condescend me, man. He's great. He's very funny. So in a small dose, he's actually, I don't know, maybe better than he would have been in the lead role. I mean, you can't take away from Christian Slater, who's actually pretty great. I think it is one of his best roles, actually. But in fairness, it does seem like this whole kind of, I don't know, young man fantasy kind of thing, which is fine. I mean, it is kind of I don't know. It's not a realistic movie. It's not a gritty, down to earth kind of movie. It is this strange fantasy, as only Tony Scott could kind of put together in the style that he does. So I think, things worked out in such a way where we have the great screenplay by Tarantino, All the dialogues there, the great scenes of back and forth between the characters, really compelling stuff. But his direction, needless to say, would have been different. And I think in getting a different creative force as the director in Tony Scott, I think it brings a different kind of, I don't know, atmosphere and a different kind of style that we would have gotten differently with Quentin Tarantino. So it worked out pretty well, and I think that makes the movie all the more stronger. And there probably will be some spoilers here and there in this video. I already revealed the death of Gary Oldman's character getting killed on White Boy Day. Uh, very very uh, star-studded cast, as I mentioned. We have not just the lead roles in Slater and Arquette, but people we meet along, including Dennis Hopper playing Clarence's dad, who's great. Really, I don't know, heartwarming in a weird kind of way. Like we get the sense that, there's some estrangement between the father and son, but he's there and supportive, and he has his back when he meets the mob boss whose cocaine Clarence has stolen, played by Christopher Walken, who's excellent, excellent, excellent in his role. Really, in only one scene, actually, where he has a dialogue with Dennis Hopper, and the whole speech that he gives, which, I mean, I can't really repeat, but the eggplant speech, quite famous from this movie. That's fantastic. Seeing those two actors is such a powerful thing, and it's one of the great things about this movie. I wish we actually could have gotten more Christopher Walken, because, I mean, in a lot of ways, you could kind of classify him as, I don't know, the main villain of the movie, if you could categorize this as the type of movie that has heroes and villains, though maybe there's shades of gray and all the stuff in between, but that's kind of how it felt. So to see him in this one big standout scene, and then him to not show up in the finale, where the cops and the mob and the Hollywood producer and Clarence and Alabama, they're all in the shootout. It would have been great to see him involved somehow. There is actually a deleted scene, one more scene with him, just to kind of establish his presence, but it wasn't really that interesting of a scene, so I can see why they kind of left it and just I don't know, gave us quality instead of quantity, I guess, with Christopher Walken. So he's great, and the Hollywood producer side. I mean, Saul Rubinek, brilliant. One of the best portrayals of a sleazy Hollywood cocaine addicted producer ever, and his little minion, played by Bronson Pinchot, who's incredible. This is one of his best roles too. I mean, just the scene with with him in the convertible with the girl. I don't know. It's probably prostitute, I guess. Cocaine flies all over the place, and he's fucked. And Chris Penn and Tom Skerritt as the cops. I mean, they're great. Like, this is such a fantastic cast. One of the best casts ever assembled for a movie. And the thing is that they're all in kind of small doses aside from the leads, right? So I think that makes it all the more interesting and all more kind of, I don't know, it feels like a journey, like this weird fantasy. I don't know. It's hard to describe the charm of this movie, which is great. Even like Samuel Jackson shows up very briefly, talking about eating ash, I think, or something like that. Some Quentin Tarantino, diatribe about that. Val Kilmer, actually, who just previously portrayed Jim Morrison playing Elvis, at least inside Clarence's head. We never really see his face, but we see him kind of encouraging him and being both the angel and devil on his shoulder, and kind of inspiring him to do this crazy wacky shit that he does, and the ultra violence that he partakes in. I like you, Clarence. Always have, always will. So thought he was great. So also Michael Rappaport playing the struggling actor. So it is. I mean, you can tell how Tarantino interprets this Hollywood world. So I mean, we have kind of this outsider, this pop culture junkie, only really knows it from the outside, and then through this series of events, through the romance with Alabama and their road trip and their journey to Hollywood to sell the drugs, it does, I don't know, have this weird insight to it, and this I don't know, powerful lens that Tarantino has on the industry. So I think it's pretty cool. And the thing is, this is kind of like a diamond in the rough kind of movie because I don't know, at least at from my experience, when I was younger, there's still VHS. The first time I saw this was on VHS. Um, you go to the video store and you try to find all the movies. I hear this Quentin Tarantino, gotta see the big ones, right? Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. Maybe not necessarily sure that this classifies as a Tarantino movie. It isn't quite as obvious, a Tarantino movie. And you can't pick up your phone. You couldn't in those days. You couldn't pick up your phone and be like, IMDb, Quentin Tarantino stuff. You got committed to memory or something like that. But in that it is such kind of a rarity in that it's a Quentin Tarantino written movie, but a Tony Scott directed movie. I don't know. I guess there's a debate about whether or not it actually fits into the Tarantino verse. I mean, there's a whole other tangent you can go on about how it connects to Natural Born Killers and how they change things up from both this movie and the intended ending, which is different, and just everything, like start to finish of Natural Born Killers, which is a completely different beast in and of itself. I think Quentin Tarantino disowned it, but he didn't disown this. He actually, again, talking about the DVD, which it's a great DVD. Warner Brothers, they always, especially during the big DVD boom, they always released really, really good special edition sets. So this came out, I think, maybe around 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. Had lots of special features like the commentaries with all the actors. They also had a completely separate commentary with Quentin Tarantino, and he talked about the movie and gave his opinions on it, and talked about the changes that were made and kind of his writing choices. It's a very, very interesting commentary. I mean, if you are an enthusiast of not just Tarantino, but just of DVD audio commentaries, which, I mean, we don't see as much today, unfortunately. I mean, just, today they don't make the big DVD sets, obviously. I mean, it's pretty much digital and streaming and all that. But sometimes we'll still get to some commentaries, but whether or not they're particularly illuminating is a whole other story. But this one is, and it's a great commentary. Highly recommended if you can track that down. Check out the Quentin Tarantino commentary for True Romance. Quite a good commentary track, in my opinion. And even on the DVD set, they have a quote from Tarantino. I don't know. It's like impossible not to read it in like the Quentin Tarantino voice, but I'll try not to. But it's an interesting quote. People have asked me, so would you ever do a romance movie? Like, that's so not what I would do. Well, I did a romantic movie. True Romance. No. I mean, like, a real romantic movie. Well, that is a romantic movie. That is a real romantic movie. No, like, one without violence? Well, there'll be a lot of things in any movie I do that will be contradictory, but anybody who's a fan of the movie can tell you the title, True Romance, is not ironic. This is True Romance. And, yeah, I think that's kind of true. True romance, so to speak. It is a sweet story, and we do come to care about these two characters, Clarence and Alabama. They're really endearing characters, and the performances are so good. I mean, Christian Slater's great. Patricia Arquette, Academy Award winner, Patricia Arquette, she's fantastic in the role. She's a really great scene with... Oh, another actor who's in the movie, James Gandolfini, playing one of the mobsters. A great scene. One of the best standout scenes of the movie, where she's just, fucking going nuts on this guy. A very violent Tarantino-esque scene. But because, we care so much for the characters, and we are invested in their romance, I mean, that makes it all the more, like there is something at stake there. And it does have a good suspense to it, even though it does have this heightened sense of, hyper reality, ultra violence, and all that Quentin Tarantino and Tony Scott stuff. So it was a true match made in heaven, and a true romance between creative forces, I guess. So it's something that you're just not gonna see, probably ever again. In like not just like specifically, obviously a Tony Scott directed Tarantino script, but I just mean Tarantino with any other director, I guess, because I guess he's gotten to a place where I don't know, he can call the shots, right? But this is one of the best Tarantino movies. I know there's that's a big debate. That is a big debate, but I would say this is among the best. One of the most enchanting, uh, rewatchable, and entertaining movies. So, great match of director and writer, I think. A great movie. I've spoiled a bit, but in case you haven't watched it, it's highly, highly, highly recommended. One of the greats. So, True Romance. That's my review, my rambling review for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you later.